Moore. Santos. Mayor Coombs, we have a quorum.
Okay, let's stand for Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anyone wishing to speak at first call, public invited to be heard, will need to add his or her name to the list outside the council chambers. Only those on the list will be invited to speak at first call, public invited to be heard. Speakers who do not place their name on the list will have the opportunity to speak during the public hearing items this evening or at final call, public invited to be heard on any item at the end of the meeting. So now we have to approve the October 28th, 2014 minutes. Councilman. Yes.
Before you take a motion on this particular item, there was a mistake in the minutes. We forgot to put whether the motion passed or failed under item 8B. It was the day after Thanksgiving resolution, and so we will add it carried 7-0.
Okay. Councilmember Finley?
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. I move that we approve the minutes with the addition.
I would second that.
Okay, let's go ahead and vote.
I move that we vote today.
That passed the 7-0. Valerie, are there any agenda revisions?
Mayor Coombs, there aren't any.
Okay. Okay, we have a proclamation designating November 23rd through 29th as Family Week in Longmont. Sanchez family, on behalf of their children, youth, and families, will accept the proclamation. So I'll go ahead and I'll read the proclamation. Proclamation designating November 23rd through 29th, 2014 as Family Week in Longmont, Colorado. Whereas Longmont recognizes that strong families are at the center of strong communities, and whereas everyone has a role to play in making families successful, including neighborhood organizations, businesses, nonprofit agencies, government, and of course families themselves. And whereas the experience of growing up in a secure, loving family environment helps individuals develop talents that contribute to better citizenship and serve in our communities. And whereas Thanksgiving week is a time to honor the importance of families and recognize the special connections that support and strengthen families year-round. And whereas in honoring the importance of families, we recommit ourselves to enhance and extend all of the connections that strengthen and enrich families. Now, therefore, I, Dennis L. Coombs, Mayor, by the virtue of authority vested in me and the City Council of the City of Longmont, do hereby proclaim November 23rd through 29th, 2014 as Family Week in Longmont, and I invite all citizens in the community to join us recognizing the importance of strong families in our community. So thank you.
And if I might say something really quickly, Christina Pacheco, Division Manager with Children, Youth, and Families. You all have received our invitation, and the dinner is actually on Friday the 21st. And it looks like it says the 22nd up further in the invitation. So please join us. Thank you.
Okay. So I guess our next item is Peter Perez, the Office of Emergency Management Analysis, will now give us a presentation on the first community emergency. I guess Dan's going to give it, right?
I'll start anyway.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Dan Eamon, the city's emergency manager, and we're going to present the first graduates of the CERT program in Longmont to you tonight. But quickly, before Peter gives you some of the details, I just wanted to let you know how this whole program got started. And as Harold and Dale and I did all those community meetings after the flood, one of the things we really heard was a real desire by our community to be more informed and be more engaged, not only during disasters, but just on a general preparation level. So this program really is in response to that need in our community, and it's something that we're proud of, and is certainly going to be an ongoing part of how we do business from now on. So Peter's going to give you some more details, and afterwards we'd love to get you guys with a picture with the graduates of the program.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. As Dan said, I'm Peter Perez, the Emergency Management Analyst for the office. CERT is a national program which stands for Community Emergency Response Team, and the program educates and empowers community members on emergency communications during a disaster. It educates them on individual, family, and neighborhood preparedness for disasters, and also encourages residents to take a more active role in their community's disaster mitigation efforts. The City of Longmont CERT program has 4 objectives, which are to increase the level of disaster prepared residents within our community. Also, this enables the community to be better prepared overall. It also empowers neighbors to help each other during a disaster when first responders are not able to get to them. And then it also gives trained volunteer support to the city during a disaster, and during its recovery efforts. The basic training, which is what all the CERT graduates that you'll meet tonight went through, encompasses 9 units and takes anywhere from 16 to 20 hours. The units go over individual disaster preparedness, fire safety, utility safety, light search and rescue, disaster medical operations, disaster trauma, and team organization. At the end of those units, they are put to a test, basically in a controlled environment. They attend a disaster simulation exercise, which currently our program is partnering with the Denver CERT program to put on in the larger facilities there in Denver. Afterwards, we provide continuing education training such as ham radio operations, shelter management, donation management, flood response management, and also CERT exercise planning, which enables our members to get trained to put a larger disaster exercise on here in the city for themselves. Within the next year, the Office of Emergency Management will be sending 3 of our lead volunteers to Emergency Management Institute in Maryland for training on this program. They're going to attend the CERT program management training as well as CERT Train the Trainer. The CERT Train the Trainer enables these people to come back and train our own in-house participants and volunteers to train other community members who would like it. We had multiple agencies assist us with this as well, including the Fire Services Division here for the City of Longmont, the Community and Neighborhood Resources, Longmont Community Health Network, and then, of course, the City and County of Denver CERT program. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
I guess I don't see any questions, but thank you. Those are really nice T-shirts. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Mayor and Council, if y'all wouldn't mind, if we get a quick picture with the graduates.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You stand like right here. That'll be all right. You don't have to duck too much. Let's bring some more people around this way. Let's make a 3rd row if we can. All right, everybody ready? Right over here. So Sarah, do you want to step up just a hair? Yeah. There you go. And will you step this way just a bit? Sarah, no, there you go. Jeff? What? There we go. Okay.
Let me know when, because I can't hold my belly at 3.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, go.
Let me do one more, okay? Hang on. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, boom. Thank you.
Moving us along, Mary, very good.
All right. Valerie, do we have the public invited to be heard list? Okay, first up is Jennifer Kemp.
Good evening, Mayor Coombs and members of the City Council. My name is Jennifer Kemp, and I reside at 1017 Longs Peak Avenue here in Longmont, Colorado. I am the local food and public outreach specialist for Boulder County Parks and Open Space, and I'm here to talk to you about the Harvest Bucks program that our department, along with Boulder County Public Health, the Boulder County Farmers Market, and the City of Boulder recently implemented. And I believe you all have a copy of a letter Rachel Arndt from the Public Health Department wrote to you in your packets about this. I'm also here to invite the City of Longmont to become a long-term partner in this critical program and to respectfully request the City allocate $10,000 from its contingency funds this year as a cash match for a USDA grant for which we are applying. The Harvest Bucks program provides customers who rely on federal nutrition assistance programs with an incentive to purchase locally grown, healthy foods from both the Longmont and Boulder farmers markets. When shopping at these markets, customers enrolled in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, formerly known as the Food Stamp Program, receive a matching amount of up to $20 per customer per market visit. The match comes in the form of Harvest Bucks, which can only be used to purchase fruits and vegetables from market vendors. A portion of these Harvest Bucks were also distributed to WIC recipients. The Harvest Buck program launched as a 3-month pilot at the beginning of August this summer and was funded by a $10,000 donation from our department and from an additional $10,000 from the City of Boulder. We expected to see a bump in the number of EBT, or electronic benefit transfers, at the area markets this year due to the program. However, the actual results during the pilot have been very promising, and I would like to share them with you. To start, there are currently 14,500 individuals in Longmont who receive SNAP benefits, which is over 70% of the total Boulder County SNAP recipients. Fruit and vegetable purchases made with federal benefits increased by over 264% at the Longmont Farmers Market compared to the same period in 2013. And if you include the Harvest Bucks match, the increase was over 675%. In 2013, SNAP sales at the farmers market totaled $2,500 for the whole season. In the first 2 months of the pilot program this year, SNAP sales had nearly reached that amount at $2,200. And when the Harvest Bucks incentive was included, that amount came to $4,600. On average, other double SNAP programs have seen their biggest increases in the second year of operations, and we expect to have an immense increase next year when we extend this program. Based on vendor and SNAP recipient feedback, we hope to extend the program for the entire market season and to increase the amount of the Harvest Bucks match to $40 per customer per market visit, which is typical of other programs around the country. We are currently writing a grant proposal to the USDA under the Food Insecurity Nutrition Incentive Program to receive $500,000 over a 4-year period to further develop and evaluate the Harvest Bucks program. This grant will provide cash incentives for point-of-purchase sales to recipients, meaning that most of the money will go directly to SNAP customers at the market. Due to the impressive results of the Harvest Bucks program this year, we are well positioned to receive this grant, but cash matches from our municipal partners, such as the city. Do I need to stop, or can I just go 2 seconds?
2 seconds.
So it will increase the application chance of success and ensure long-term viability for this program. The grant deadline is December 15th, but we are requesting, if the city chooses to take action, that you do it by December 1st. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Can we speak? I guess the next person up is Summer Laws.
See if I can make this work. Can you still hear me? Okay. So, hello, Mayor Coombs and council members, and thank you for this opportunity to address the council. My name is Summer Laws, and I'm with Boulder County Public Health, and I'm a public health improvement coordinator there. And I'm here to express our agency's support for the Harvest Bucks program that Jen just mentioned. Our agency and our county are supportive of nutrition exercise programs and policies to promote health. We know that improving healthy eating and active living is one of 3 key strategic priorities for our county. In 2010, we conducted a community health assessment along with businesses, nonprofit agencies, and other government agencies, and healthy and active living rose to the top as one of those top 3 priorities. Our partners in health, we at Boulder County, also know that many may think that Longmont and other communities are not in need of nutrition and exercise opportunities as one of the healthiest counties in one of the healthiest states. However, in Colorado overall, less than 9% of children 2 to 14 eat the daily recommended amounts of fruit and vegetables every day. If you were to do the calculation, the math for Longmont, that means that 323 school buses of children every day are not meeting their daily recommended allotment of fruits and vegetables. The Harvest Bucks program directly provides choices and opportunities for eating healthy fruits and vegetables in Longmont. The program raises the bar in Longmont, increases access to fresh, healthy fruits and vegetables produced by local businesses, thus supporting the health of our community both physically and economically. And the reports from the program this last season show that there's a great demand for this program. This year was a pilot opportunity for the program, and through the farmers market, though the farmers market ran from May until November across the county, our Harvest Buck program only ran from August until the end of the season. Still, that program increased the utilization of SNAP benefits by 144%. In the first 3 months, there were a total of 174 transactions, representing at least 389 residents, and at least 215 of those were children. We also know that these programs work. Nationally, 90% of participants reported that they increased or greatly increased their consumption of fruits and vegetables as a result of similar programs. And nationally, 95% of participants reported that it was easier to purchase fruits and vegetables when they did so from a local farmer's market. How am I doing? So I'm here because Boulder County Public Health is committed to providing residents of our community with choices and opportunities to purchase fresh, locally produced fruits and vegetables that ensure their health and also support local business. Thank you for this opportunity to address council. And we just wanted to mention that if you have any questions, you could ask them now or respond via letter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you to choir with me. Fruits and vegetables is what it's about. Okay, I don't see anybody else on the, does anybody, well, I guess during public hearings, not really a time for, but we might address things during council comments at the end of the meeting. Okay, I guess that's the end of public invited to be heard.
Yes. Mayor, your first item on the agenda is ordinance 2014-66, a bill for an ordinance making additional appropriations for the expenses and liabilities of the city of Longmont for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2014. There is no formal staff presentation on this item.
Okay, I don't see any questions from council at this time, so I'll open up the public hearing on ordinance 2014-66. Is there anybody from the public who'd like to speak on this ordinance? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Finley?
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. I'd like to move ordinance 2014-66.
Okay, let's vote. Polly? Okay, that passes 7-0.
Your next item is ordinance 2014-67, a bill for an ordinance amending Chapter 14.20 of the Longmont Municipal Code on utility bills and Chapter 14.48 on broadband services. And we do not have a formal staff presentation on this item, but our utility billing manager is here if you have questions.
Okay. Does anybody from council have any questions? Okay, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 2014-67. Is there anybody from the public who'd like to speak on this ordinance? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing on ordinance 2014-67. Councilmember Bradley.
I move that we pass ordinance 2014-67.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Let's vote. That passes 7-0.
Next item is ordinance 2014-68, a bill for an ordinance amending section 3.04.885 of the Longmont Municipal Code adopting amended and restated pension plans. And again, we do not have a formal staff presentation, but our finance director is here to answer questions.
Is there any questions from council before I open up the public hearing? All right, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 2014-68. Does anybody from the public like to speak on ordinance 2014-68? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing on ordinance 2014-68. Councilmember Finley.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. I would move ordinance 2014-68.
It's been moved and seconded by Councilmember Santos. Let's vote. Councilmember Christensen. Okay, that passes 7-0.
Then we have ordinance 2014-69, a bill for an administrative ordinance approving the conveyance of the city's interest in the Vance Brand Civic Auditorium located at Skyline High School to the St. Vrain Valley School District RE1J. Again, there is no staff presentation, but our Community Services Director is present to answer questions.
Okay, anybody from council wants to ask any questions before I open up the public hearing? All right, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 2014-69. Is there anybody from the public who'd like to speak on this ordinance? Councilmember Christensen.
I'm sorry. How many seats does the Vance Brand Auditorium have? Roughly. Isn't it the largest number of seats in the,
County Community Services, roughly 1,300, a little more than 1,300 seats.
And what is the next closest venue we have? I'm just, because this preceded me, I'm curious as to why we're abandoning something we helped pay for, or giving up our interest in it.
So I would be glad to just give a little background. So basically, this when the city entered into this joint agreement with the school district, our commitment was for a 30-year joint operation, and there were a couple of opportunities in the joint operating agreement where the school district or the city could have ended their commitment before the 30 years, but then after the 30 years, if either the district or the city wanted to, I guess, abandon their interests, they could do that. And the school district did indicate that they wanted to operate that on their own, and so therefore this is an action that actually we probably should have done 3 years ago, and because they did follow all of the regulations in the agreement, and after 30 years, this was an opportunity for either party to cease operation. So what that meant for the city is that was probably, we had about $62,000 every year that we contributed toward the operation of the auditorium, and so we no longer made that investment as of 2010.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, but we don't have anything even close to that. The city doesn't own anything that has that capacity at all.
No, and the school district still utilizes the auditorium for community events. So the Longmont Symphony Orchestra still uses that for their performances, and right. So it's still available to the community. The city just doesn't have a role in the operation of it anymore.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the public hearing is still open. Is there anybody from the public who'd like to speak on this ordinance? Okay, seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Levison.
I'd like to move ordinance 2014-69.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Levison and seconded by Councilmember Finley. Let's vote. That passes 7-0.
Mayor Coombs, your next item is your consent agenda. Item 9A is ordinance 2014-70, bill for an ordinance authorizing the city of Longmont to lease the real property known as the Top of the City landfill to the St. Vrain Archers and Bow Hunters Association. Public hearing and second reading is scheduled for November 25th. Item 9B is resolution 2014-105, authorizing a First Amendment to the option contract between the city of Longmont and Ronald A. and Tammy L. Dick for the purchase of water rights. Item 9C is Resolution 2014-106, approving the intergovernmental agreement between the City and Colorado Department of Labor and Employment, Division of Oil and Public Safety for elevator and escalator regulation. Item 9D is approve and authorize the mayor to sign a letter of support for Salud Health Care Center. Item 9E is approve one capital improvement program amendment, MUE 97, aid to construction. And item 9F is appoint Tom Rodiotis, Director of Longmont Power and Communications, to the Platte River Power Authority Board of Directors. And staff does not have a need to pull any items.
Councilmember Levison?
Yes, I'd like to just pull up the resolution on the elevator and escalator inspection system just for a quick question. That would be 9C, please.
I would like to basically have a quick discussion on items D and F. Councilmember Santos.
Anybody else? Should we just pull them all off and just talk about them all? I mean, there's only three more. I move the consent agenda minus C, D, and F.
Okay, let's vote. Yeah.
Mayor Coombs, item C is Resolution 2014-106, and Joni Marsh is here to answer any questions.
Okay. Well, I guess we got Councilmember Levison.
Thank you. Mayor, did you want to jump in on this
No,
issue first?
go ahead. You.
Okay, thank
this
you,
one.
Mayor. Joni, there was a report this morning on one of the news shows about home elevators, and that they're talked about, growing trend that we have home elevators, and yet they're not falling under the same inspection rules. I just find it incredible timing that we're discussing inspection. So, does our Division for Building Inspection cover home elevators, and does the state of Colorado?
Mayor Coombs, Councilman Levison, that's actually a good question, and I do not know the answer to that. I know that what we are doing through this particular memorandum of understanding deals with commercial conveyances in the city, and to be honest with you, I'm not sure we've actually permitted any residential other than apartment building elevators in the city, but I could certainly check on Wednesday and let you know if we have that and if this covers it or not.
Would this also cover faith-based organizations, because it can still be considered commercial?
It does, and it also covers lifts too, not just elevators. So lifts, escalators, and elevators are all covered throughout the city.
And I guess just thinking in the future, it could be that certainly with veterans returning from war that have disabilities, that they're finding themselves in a wheelchair, and other people with disease and disability, that it might be that in the future we do have some residential elevators. And so if there's some way we can, this is just fine with me, but the topic of seeing what other kind of things we can do to ensure safety in our community would be great for these personal elevators, since it's now a topic of discussion. So thank you.
We'll get back to you on that.
Yeah.
Certainly, aging demographic is also going to play a role in that for us.
So, Mayor, if there are no other comments, I'd like to move Resolution 2014-106, please.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Let's vote. Okay, that passes 7-0.
Mayor Coombs, item D is the letter of support for Salud Healthcare, and I believe that's your item.
Okay. Well, the reason why I pulled, I just want to make a comment that, in 2013, that organization serves 12,630 patients here in Longmont, and they have a staff of 73 people working there. If anybody didn't get a chance to go to the open house, they've just, doubled their building size there, and it's just a beautiful facility. They do dental and counseling and nutritional counseling. It's just a real gem, I think, to our community, and I feel like this is a real positive thing for our city to support. So anyway, I just hope we all decide to support that. And I appreciate the opportunity for everybody to have read this. And anyway, I'd like to move this approval and authorization that allow me to sign a letter of support for the Salute Health Clinic, because I think it's more important that we do it as a body. So I'll go ahead and move it. It's been moved and seconded. All right, any further discussion? Okay, let's vote. Okay, that passes 7-0. And the last thing is that pulled was item F, the appointment of Tom Marinotis, Director of Longmont Power and Communications. I always thought that it was just kind of an automatic, because it's always been, except for in the case of Fort Collins, the power director and the four mayors of the city that run the Platte River Power Board organization. And Tom is just a really top-notch person. He's the chairman of the board, and he knows his stuff. He comes well prepared. He's a good leader, and he understands the transmission part of Platte River as well as anybody. So anyway, I hope that we all decide to support this letter. And so I'd like to go ahead and move for the appointment of Tom Marinotis to be the Director of Longmont Power and Communications at the Platte River Board Authority Directors.
Second.
Okay, let's go ahead and vote on that. Okay, that passes 7-0.
Mayor Coombs, your next item is general business, 2015 Human Service Agency funding recommendations, and Karen Roney is here to make this presentation.
Good evening. Hello. My name is Karen Roney. I'm with the Community Services Department, and I'm also the staff liaison to the Housing and Human Services Advisory Board. Also here this evening is our chair, Carol Salter, and our vice chair, Charles Cerns. And I'm sure they would love to jump in if you have questions for them as well as for me in regard to these recommendations. So as you council is aware, every year we set aside in financial policies 1.6% of general fund revenues to help support nonprofit human service agencies in our community that are providing services to people most at need in our community. And so for 2015, that amount is $1,075,227. And the Housing and Human Services Advisory Board is responsible for seeking applications, reviewing applications, making recommendations to City Council about how to best disperse those funds to meet the greatest needs in our community. So tonight, that is what we are here to do. Our approach for 2015 was very similar to 2014, and as you might recall, is that we did kind of overhaul the whole system in 2013 as we prepared for the 2014 allocation process. We went through a needs assessment and really tried to embrace what Council asked us to do, which was look at what are the most crucial needs in our community. There's lots of agencies doing lots of great things, but are the services that meet the greatest need in our community really being funded from the city? So we identified what we thought were the most critical needs in the Longmont community, and we still basically embrace those as our targeted funding areas for 2015. So we continue to try to look at issues and trends that have the greatest impact and invest in agencies that are addressing those needs. And we also weighted the programs and the services according to those community priorities. So it's very similar to what we did in 2014. So just a quick review, we have basically 2 high impact areas. And those have to do with, the first one here is preparing children and youth for success. So this is really kind of the prevention arm of things. How do we really help to grow a generation of children who have the greatest success of being healthy, contributing adults? And so the high program areas in this area have to do with early education and quality childcare, and also providing funding for programs that address at-risk youth behaviors. The other 2 medium areas had to do with parent education and involvement, as well as youth development programs. The second highest area is meeting the basic needs of residents. So as we also focus on prevention, we also did not want to pull the rug out, the safety net out for those people in our community that have really critical needs and are very vulnerable. And so we still are providing funding for emergency and safe housing, affordable health care, addressing homelessness, and making sure that people have access to food. So those were the 4 areas that we considered funding in 2015. The medium priority impact area has to do with increasing self-reliance for adults. And you can see there it has to do with how do we help people to prepare for a livable wage job, making sure that people are able to maintain their independent living for as long as possible. Housing assistance is also a medium priority, as well as helping people to move from poverty to self-sufficiency. And then the third area that we funded, which is the lower of the impact areas, have to do with safe community. And here we are looking at safe neighborhoods, addressing interpersonal violence, and the third area is helping our at-risk populations to re-enter into the community. So again, I indicated that we had a little over $1 million to distribute this year. And we have 2 areas that we set aside money from that $1 million pot. The first had to do with, this is the 5th and final year of our support for the RISE program. And we reduced the support for this program probably in half of what it was in 2014. Because primarily what the $75,000 is what we need to continue to provide case management to the families living at Aspen Meadows neighborhood. The direct services that we also funded in 2014 and the previous years, the Housing Authority actually had enough money to continue to provide those direct services with what they received in 2014 and did not need additional funding in 2015. So the $75,000 funds the case manager for Aspen Meadows neighborhood and the RISE program for 1 more year. And then we also set aside $150,000 for the child care certificate program, which is matching money for the Colorado Child Care Assistance Program to really help all providers be able to serve low-income children and their families by using these dollars to help match what the gap is between the reimbursement they get from the state and what it costs them in the market to provide the care for kids. So then the final areas that we allocated, set aside 80% of the remaining funds for the Tier 1 programs, 20% of the remaining funds for Tier 2, which was self-reliance for adults, and then the increment, which is about $40,000 for those Tier 3 programs for safe communities. So we this is really the process. I won't go into a lot of detail, but we get a lot of applications, and we do go through those. We have teams basically that we are that all of our advisory board members review all of the applications. We have funding hearings this year. We conducted our funding hearings in collaboration with Boulder County, City of Boulder, and Foothills United Way. So this is the first year that all 4 funding entities held our hearings together. So that helped to make it a more efficient process for the applicant agencies that also apply for multiple sources. We evaluated each of the proposals based on criteria, ranked them, and then deliberated in October for the agencies that we are recommending for funding. As you can see here in the pie chart, we probably the safer community area where we had $40,000, we ended up not allocating as much money in that area as we had anticipated, and really moved more money into the basic needs area. We are still seeing an incredible amount of needs that are for people who are needing housing assistance, folks who are homeless, folks who are still recovering from the impacts of the flood, and we're just seeing ongoing needs for people's basic needs and safety net programs. So that particular tier received more money than it received last year, and the advisory board really just tried to respond to the needs and what we were hearing from the agencies. So this information is in your packet, but these are the recommended amounts for the for one of the Tier 1 programs, which has to do with helping children and youth be successful. So you can see here is what we are recommending for these agencies that applied, and I can go over any questions that you might have. This next is for the basic needs program, and these are the agencies that received that we're recommending funding for in 2015. And there's 2 of those.
Councilmember Levison, did you have a question?
Thank you. Karen, can you tell us, I'm going to guess that what the Agave Family Services amount, my understanding is that that agency has in the past helped on those very cold nights to shelter the homeless. Is that this program, the warming center?
Correct, it is.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. And then in Tier 2, that basically provides services that help adults to be self-reliant. These are the recommendations that the advisory board is making in this area. Again, this is in your packet if you have questions. And then the final set of recommendations has to do with the Tier 3 areas, and we have 3 agencies for whom we are recommending funding in 2015. So again, I think just in closing, and then I'll open up to questions that you might have about any of the individual recommendations. We are continuing, the city is continuing with our collaborative process with Boulder County, with the City of Boulder, and in 2015 we welcomed Foothills United Way back into the fold. They kind of left for a while, and they came back in and decided that they wanted to use the system that we are using. And so so we do have the 4 funders that are working together, and this year we continue to work on trying to refine our outcome measurements and our reporting. It's much harder than we all thought it was going to be, but we are all committed to really trying to be able to report back to each of our funding bodies what difference the investments are making in the community, how do we know that, and then how do we create and produce a collaborative report that makes it very easy for our communities to really know what difference these investments are making in the lives of people that live throughout Boulder County. And then I think finally, I just want to express my appreciation to the Housing and Human Services Advisory Board. I think when they sign up for this board, they don't really know what's coming at them as it relates to, they have to work a lot, not only in making these recommendations, because they review, it was probably 60 different program applications. They also conduct site visits with at least 10 agencies each year. They deliberate. They spend lots of their time trying to do good, thoughtful, and deliberative work for the Human Service Agency funding process. And then we turn around and say, okay, now it's time to do the same thing for CDBG, home, and affordable housing funds. So anyhow, they take their job seriously, and they also understand that you, the City Council, make the final decisions based on the recommendations that they are making. So with that, I will open it up to any questions that Council might have. And again, I think Carol and Charles would also be glad to respond to questions you may have.
Councilmember Christensen.
I just wanted to thank you and all the other members of the advisory board. This is an incredibly hardworking board, between the site visits and the reading of applications and the interviewing of the applicants and all the other meetings. And I also want to thank everybody for reviewing and smoothing out some of the process. That last year was difficult because you had to do it earlier and a lot of things. I think it's much improved from what I saw last year, and I thank you again for all the hard work. It's great. Thanks.
Councilmember Santos.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. Unless anybody's got any other comments, thank you very much for the hard work, and I move option 1.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Levison.
Yes, Karen, I know that there were some bumps in the road. The first couple of years we looked at the assessment and realigning goals and priorities. Are the nonprofits that we fund and we receive the applications from, are people now getting adjusted to the new processes? And in general, have we gotten some other feedback that'll continue to help us refine things?
I think we're all learning together, and it's not the smoothest road yet, but I think that, we one of the things that we will start doing as of Thursday is to start looking at what we can do to improve the process, for the next year. So I think that, we're all learning together, and it is a little bit smoother process than it was last year. Again, we did have more time to implement it this year, and that helped, that helped a lot. I think agencies are certainly, if there's more money to invest in what they do, I think they would always love that. But, I think I think they appreciate that we are all trying to work together, try to make this process more efficient for the agencies, and continue to basically improve as we go along. I think the one area that we will be working hard on for next year really has to do with the outcome measurements and the indicators of success. And so we involved the agencies in a process this year, and we want to dig further next year to really try to come up with more meaningful indicators than we have been able to do in the past.
And I guess I just hope that we continue to touch base with the agencies to get their feedback, because when I'm looking at some of these grant amounts, $3,000, sometimes the amount of time, I know in nonprofits you have to evaluate the amount of time it takes you to apply for, to interview for the grant, to do the reporting and the additional measurements and metrics that we're going to ask for. Do we want to put so much of a burden that $3,000 really is equivalent to not providing much service, but getting all that staff work done to provide the documentation? In some respects, some smaller agencies may just decide that $3,000 is too little a return for the amount of effort. So I just want to make sure for those, especially under $5,000 and below, that we're really streamlining the process enough so that we do encourage those small amounts where that amount is not a big part of their budget, but it might target something to make a program they have sustainable, that provides great service.
And if I can respond to that, Councilmember Levison, I think that really is what's helpful about having the same application, so you can apply to all four agencies, all four entities, one application, one set of reporting, so maybe an agency might ask a little from the city of Longmont. They might ask for a much larger amount from, say, Boulder County. So I think that does help, and of course they always have the option if it's too little, then and we struggle with that. So for agencies that have multi-million-dollar budgets, what does $10,000 really matter? So we have those discussions, but we believe that the agencies are, making that informed choice when they apply.
Councilmember Bagley.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. Just as an aside, this was by far my favorite board so far, serving on council. It's just very fulfilling. It does great work. And if I remember back 3 years to the chaos that seemed to surround this process, and then compare it to what was just presented, it is clear, it is concise, it has order, it's easily defendable. And the real testament is the silence in the room as we're about ready to vote. It shows that, good job, you guys just rocked it, so thank you.
Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. So Karen, you've got a set aside for RISE program in its 5th and final year. Is there anything coming up that you could see that we want to do a set aside for next year?
Mayor and Councilmember Moore, I don't know yet, but that will be something that we will be discussing. I think, for certain. There are a variety of needs in our community, and we might indeed be setting some money aside, but we have not made a determination yet.
The arisen
Okay. Councilmember Levison.
And Karen, I just want to remind everyone that they did get an annual report from the RISE program showing really significant progress of these families. I mean, there's one family, even before the economy started recovering, that they made too much money after being in the program for about a year to live in subsidized housing, which, the kind of economy we've had, especially at the lower end of the wage scale, for a family to, get out of the poverty cycle is pretty amazing. So we have that one example. It's a very small program, but I'm just wondering, what's the sustainability of making sure we can get some additional success with that type of program.
Okay, I guess we got a motion. Second, let's vote. 7-0.
Mayor Coombs, your final item
you.
is to designate voting delegates to the National League of Cities annual business meeting on November 22nd. There are several of you going to National League of Cities. I think there's only 2 or 3 of you that will even be around at the time of the business meeting, which is Saturday, later in the afternoon. So 2:30.
Okay. Councilmember Levison.
I volunteer to be the primary delegate. I just had a opportunity to be a voting delegate before, and also am acquainted with picking up the credentials and getting through that hurdle. Sometimes can be pretty elaborate at the meeting. But I also, as chairman of one of the policy committees, I am going to be at the annual meeting, and I would be happy to be our voting delegate for the meeting.
Anybody else like to? Councilmember Finley.
I'd be happy to be the alternate.
Okay. Someone like to make a motion?
That's consensus.
Okay. Councilmember. Okay. Councilmember Bagley.
it's consensus, but I move it. It's whatever. I move that we appoint Councilmember Levison as the primary delegate with Councilmember Finley as the alternate.
Okay. I guess we all agree. You have the consensus. All right. So now it's time for final call. Public invited to be heard. Is there anybody from the public who'd like to speak at this time? Okay, seeing no one, I'll close final call. Public invited to be heard. So now it's time for mayor and council comments. Councilmember Levison.
Yes, Mayor. On another matter involving National League of Cities, for the first time in probably 6 years, we have a member of the Colorado elected official family who is being considered for nomination, who has applied for a board seat on the National League of Cities board, and that is Matt Applebaum, Mayor of Boulder. And the Colorado Municipal League Executive Board, of which I am a member, has endorsed his application and nomination. So I would just like to get the council's nod to also support Matt Applebaum for the board position. Right now, we do have a board member from Colorado, Sam Mamet, who is the municipal league director, but he's serving in the capacity as the rotating seat for directors of the regional municipal league. So I think the last time we've had someone from Colorado was when Kathy Novak, mayor of North Glen, was president of the NLC board, and I think her term expired in 2008. So I would hope everybody would agree to endorse and advocate for Matt Applebaum when we're at NLC.
Councilmember Finley.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. I wanted to mention that I think it's this Saturday, it's Nitro Saturday at the Left Hand Brewing Company. Everyone should go and attend that. I'm sure they're giving the money to something worthwhile. That brings me to my business of the week, and I believe I'll just make it the Left Hand Brewing Company since they're hosting this fine event this weekend.
Councilmember Santos.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. Well, it'll be cold, but hopefully those folks will come out and support our veterans tomorrow, November 11th at 11:11. Several members of council, members of council will be out there walking and perhaps even riding. But let's show our support for those veterans that are still with us and those that aren't. They didn't. They did it in the rain and deserts and cold weather, and they didn't. Still difficult this year for me, having just lost an uncle who served our country. They didn't ask why. They didn't. They just did it, and so we could all enjoy our freedom. So, hope to see you all out there.
Councilmember Christensen.
Well, on a much more trivial issue, I wanted to thank the city for finally fixing the potholes on Sunset. We are very grateful. We'd like our bridge back, but we will get that. But we're very grateful to have Sunset fixed up. Thank you.
Councilmember Ragley.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. I'm just wondering when City Youth Council will show up and give us our trophy.
You mean the
Youth Council?
Oh, the Youth Council. What did I say?
Yeah,
City Council.
So, well, whatever. We can give ourselves a trophy too. You know, that'd be cool. I move that we give ourselves a trophy. No, the Youth Council. If we could extend I'll talk to the chairman of that committee. But I would like it to come through official channels, preferably, with my name on it somehow. Councilmember Bagley and the rest of City Council, whatever. Just get her something written. Would be good. It's only the second time? Yeah. Someone said we request the pleasure of your company on a Tuesday evening, and we can buy them donuts or something and a bunch of cans of green beans.
Well, Well, I guess if Sam Mallet, supports Matt Applebaum, I'm fine with that. I would support that. Also, how much money do we have left in the city contingency fund? Is
20,000 range. Jim, is that correct?
20,000?
According to the agenda, it's 20.
Actually, I believe that's wrong on your agenda.
Okay. Well, we were asked tonight if we would want to support a city match to the SNAP program of $10,000 that allow them to get additional matching fund. I guess I'm kind of in support of that. Is anybody else?
Is that your motion?
Yeah, I guess Councilmember Santos.
I have a question, and I would be in support of this. Why is this coming to us now and not during the budget process? Why is this coming to us so late?
Because people realize they can ask us for money and they'll get it.
Exactly. As Councilmember Bagley says, people ask us for money and they'll just get it. So late.
That's a great question, Mayor and City Council members. So I believe in terms of the grant cycle, so the grant cycle did not align with what our funding cycle was. And so what I indicated to them was this is really their only option if they want to ask for money for this year. And then what I encourage, if they have future funding, that they can apply through the Human Service Agency funding process and do that competitively. But they had missed that opportunity to go after this particular grant. So I think it was just off cycle first.
But this seems to happen every year for the last 6 years that I've been on council, that someone comes in November or December with this type of request. All the time. And then we have, the agenda says we have 20 grand in our council contingency fund, and then Karen just sent me an email that says we have like 75.
Correct. It had not been updated on the council agenda, but I did check with Teresa, and she indicated it was like $77,000. So it really is council's. It's your desire. So sometimes things. I understand that you get a lot of requests, and this one did come off cycle, and I was really clear with them that if they are looking for future funding, they have to come through our Human Service Agency funding process, and the decision is up to you and what you would like to support, if anything, this year.
It just seems like if they've known about this for a while, they could have.
Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. And I do think that one of the things that is missing in this particular request is the competitive nature of coming to the funding agency, the Housing Human Services Board, is part of their vetting process and part of their competition. And just having these requests come out of the blue, I'm not real comfortable with, because for one thing, we really don't know a whole lot about it. And another thing is, like, I have to be in alignment with Councilman Santos on this, is that this happens all the time, and I think we need to make sure that this is really what we want to do with that contingency money.
Councilmember Bagley.
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. I guess in general, I've said this before, but I just think it's a bad idea. I think that any time we adopt a city ordinance, resolution, or give money, there should be a process. In other words, go through city staff in order to have the professionals vet it. Because what happens is city council, we don't have the understanding, the discipline to actually figure out what's going on. I don't care if it's money or passing laws. So I don't think this, just like before, I'm not going to vote for it, because I think that it should go through the proper channels, be vetted, and people should be held accountable. Although I like fruits and vegetables too, Mayor.
Councilmember Levison.
I think that sometimes, and from experience we've had, Karen and I, on working some grants, sometimes the grant announcement will be maybe a month before the grant is due. And the other part of this, which I think is, again, the issue around the timing, is that the current program that they ran this year began in August, so they had no data to even know whether or not they would go for a second round go for a grant opportunity, because they had no data to even support a request. So I think that they have mentioned the data and how much the City of Longmont residents participate in this particular program and what a benefit it could be. And I think that I'd like to know a little bit. I am in support of this. However, I would like to know if it's a Boulder County grant, City of Longmont, $10,000. The City of Boulder going to support it? Is Louisville going to support it with a little bit of money? And the county already supported it the first round to get some numbers proven up and seeing if people are going to participate for $10,000. I think the economic benefit to the farmers market, especially when the downtown farmers market was established, was the idea is to support a farmers market actually where people could walk to the market. And a lot of the neighborhoods, the east side and southeast end of Longmont, have many families that can't get to the farmers market due to transportation issues on Saturday. I think that this would support the downtown farmers market, help downtown, and I think the viability of a downtown farmers market depends on people with all kinds of different money resources to purchase the fresh fruits and vegetables. I also do like the way they have given us the evidence that this money can only be spent on fresh fruit and vegetables at the farmers market with this match. And fruits and vegetables are a bit more expensive at the farmers market, so this will encourage people, I think, to use those other sources and not just be limited to the supermarket.
Councilmember Christensen?
I agree with the reservations that Councilmen Santos and Bagley and Moore have. I don't like to see these things kind of come in and get used in the contingency fund or the one-time fund, because then it tends to get completely out of whack. But I do understand the problem with the timing here, and this is a sort of newish program. I do think it will benefit the farmers and the markets, the farmers market over by the stadium and also the one downtown, which also benefits downtown. So I'm voting for this, but I agree. I would like to not see these things get shuffled in at the last minute. It's difficult for all the reasons already mentioned. Thank you.
Councilmember Santos?
Thank you, Mayor Coombs. Well, the email that I got from Karen that Rachel gave us was that Karen asked Rachel for additional information about Longmont residents served. In Longmont, 14,000 residents received SNAP, and she said tracking down information about the number of Longmont residents enrolled in WIC, in the WIC program. Rachel indicates that it's difficult to calculate the exact number of folks using the program currently, as many people from Boulder are coming up and spending their dollars in Longmont. It's also difficult to track WIC since clients are gifted bucks and don't withdraw any of their own funding. That's probably more information than you need or want, but Rachel's going to see if she can provide any more definite numbers on Monday evening's presentation. Now, I heard two different numbers from two different people tonight. They can't even give us this. They can't even get their numbers, concise. So, again, I would like to be able to give $10,000 for a really good program, but it hasn't been vetted properly. Well, we do have $10,000 to give, but I don't. Again, at the last hour, having not gone through the proper process, just seems like it just hasn't. Again, a letter's being sent. Hey, give us money. We'll figure it out, and we'll just see how it works for Longmont. Apparently, the City of Boulder and Boulder County Parks have also committed at least $10,000 apiece for 2015 and beyond. So there's a little bit more information. Public health staff is currently negotiating with Boulder County Housing and Human Services about contributing to the program. There's a little bit more information.
Go ahead, Harold.
Mayor, Council, I know that when we've had these type of requests come in from council contingency, I'm not really sure the genesis or where the contingency started, but it's something that I've seen this debate before. One of the things that we can do if council desires is that we can bring this back as a more formal item with more information for you all to look at if that's council's desire. We can get your questions answered, because when it's presented in public, invited to be heard with 3 minutes, that does pose some issues. And then, you know, again, if council wants, we can look at a process or really re-examine the council contingency fund in general in terms of what it's designed for, because I have heard this issue several times.
Councilmember Levison?
Our next regularly scheduled meeting is November 25th, and the grant was due December 16th. Was that correct? So I'm wondering at this point, with so many questions, whether or not we could request an item to be put on City Manager Dominguez, that we could actually ask questions, because at public invited to be heard, we weren't really able to ask or address any questions to the people. And I'd also like to see the data that they presented in their presentations, and maybe an item in the packet, so that we actually have something to refer to. And then the information that Councilmember Santos just read from that email, noting how many other organizations have dedicated funds to this matching grant. And then, you know, to get the firm numbers on what total amount of money would be received, and then some idea of what the return on our investment of $10,000 would be. And I think that if we could also get some feedback from the farmers market staff about how they saw WIC vouchers and SNAP being used at the market, and whether or not their opinion is that this would help increase sales at the market, would be an important point for us to understand to make a decision. Thank you.
You know, I think it's a great idea for staff to take another look at it and bring it back to us, because I guess I agree with what everybody's saying here tonight, that it's just too much to absorb without having the ability to ask questions directly during a public invited to be heard scenario. So, and I don't think we formally made a motion that was seconded that we have to vote on tonight. So, good. So, Councilmember Santos.
Thank you, Mayor. I just asked Karen if she could just forward, would you please forward the email that you sent me to the rest of the council?
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Any other council comments tonight? All right. Now it's time for City Manager. Do you have any additional remarks?
Mayor, Council, I do have some remarks tonight. For the next meeting on Monday, we had that set aside for a water rate discussion, and we knew that was going to take a long time, so we're holding for it. The work that we were doing on that's not going to be ready for that meeting. However, we do still need the meeting time for some other executive session items that we need to discuss with council.
Okay.
And so we have been working with the city attorney's office on that. And so I just wanted to bring that up with council tonight.
Councilmember Bevan?
I'm sorry. There's one more thing that I neglected that just came to mind. I met today with the folks out there who showed up about their lawn mowing standards. And so I proposed to them that they and those members of council who would be willing, that we take the bus tour to go see the standards. And I took that, as I mentioned last time, I took that tour with the city manager and Del Rademacher. And there are areas, when done right, it looks beautiful. And then there are areas when the standards aren't being maintained. And what I mean, there's certain things that need to be done to make it look right. And so I would encourage everybody to, when that's scheduled, to go. Sorry, Harold, that's actually what I thought you were going to talk about. So, sorry, I guess I was just hopeful.
And actually, on that note, the neighbors have proposed a different time. we're going to have to work some logistics out because from a staff perspective, that new time doesn't match with when we have folks here. So we're going to have staff trying to have a conversation and looking at it. They wanted to look at November 22nd, which is a Saturday at 9. Right, at 9 in the morning, and so most of the council's not here. We also have some other staff who are not going to be able to make it, so we're going to have to run through the whole scheduling again to try to get everyone together. So we're definitely going to work that as staff, but we'll be in touch with council.
Okay, city attorney, any comments?
No comments, Mayor.
Okay, this meeting's adjourned.